Welcome to the culture, the hottest broadcast in the game. Go to my playlist section. We have already released over 40 episodes, and we have an entire playlist dedicated to this series. In this series, we shine a light on who's really committing some of the most heinous crimes here in the United States and around the world. This project was inspired by years of me listening to certain conservative voices in the media talking about crime in the black community as if crime was unique to us. So that pushed me to dig deeper into the true crime data, the headlines and the statistics to see where the true criminality is actually coming from. Now, everything I'm discussing is based on publicly reported cases and verified information. This content is for educational and commentary purposes only. If you come across a story that you believe deserves to be showcased on the culture, send it to my email at kingnefakari@gmail.com. Link in the description. Now, let's get into it. Now, before we get started, before we take a look at the calamity taking place inside the community, I want to play some clips, as we always do, right? But first, I want to start off with this one content creator, right? This old grifter. You see, a few years ago, like I said before, when the red pill relationship conversation, when that was a trend, this individual was riding that wave. Now, of course, we know that wave died down. So a lot of these individuals had to flee to different trends and had to hop on different waves. Some of them hopped on the conservative wave, and that seems to be the new lane. So I'm gonna play the clip of this one individual, talking about the black community. One of these red pill grifters turned conservative commentators. And then, of course, I'll be back. Run the clip. I'll be right back.
My first line of what I believe is my eyes. And my entire life, it's been very apparent in my real life that black people commit more crime. I know somebody that got their truck stolen by like a group of black kids. And they come back and they say, well, okay, it's poverty. And I don't know, maybe I haven't been around enough like impoverished people. But it's just in my, what I've seen in my experience, it just seems like to be a disregard for authority, not caring. And in white communities, I think we naturally have a high regard for authority. And, and I just was wondering, what is it that makes it so bad to say that?
All right, we back. Now, with individuals like that, they are the inspiration behind the culture. I can't even say that I created the culture or I founded the culture, even though I did, but they're the real creators of the culture. They're the founders of this illustrious broadcast because they inspired me. I'm simply a vessel, bringing it to life, but they inspired me to create this broadcast, this illustrious broadcast, the culture. Welcome to the culture, right? To put the magnifying glass on the calamity taking place inside their community. Now, before we continue, I want to get into another clip of this one sister. She was at the gym minding her business. She just came off the machines, doing her thing. And then, of course, we had one of these individuals from the culture, going through her bag and trying to confiscate her belongings, trying to steal her belongings. Run the clip. I'll be right back. It's that white fatigue. Run the clip.
Why is this bitch all in my shit, though? You're using perfume and shit.
Honey, look. I have another purse. I switch purses. Look. Look.
I don't give a fuck.
Look, I don't give a fuck.
I don't give a fuck.
In the car.
I don't give a fuck. You better get the fuck away from me. Get the fuck away from me now. Now, bitch. I'm being fucking nice right now. I'm telling your ass I'm being fucking nice. I don't give a fuck. Stop talking to me. Give me everything you took about this bitch. I fucking knew to get my fucking lock. You got your shit all in. Fuck out of here.
You'll see.
Fuck out of here. Give me my fucking ID. Give me my fucking ID now.
You can look through it.
Now. You went through my wallet, bitch. You took all the gift cards out my shit.
I did not do that.
So who the fuck did it?
There was somebody else here with me.
Girl, fucking bye. Give me my shit now, bitch.
Here,
For your ass get clapped in this hoe.
I
Now.
don't even know what's in there. Honey, I don't even know what's in there.
I don't give a fuck what's in here. You got a whole nother bitch ID. You got a whole nother bitch ID.
All right, just calm down. I have these.
Man, give me my shit. Give me my card. She talking about some I didn't know this was your shit, but she eating all the cookies in that bitch.
Man, we back. Now, I want to get into another clip, right? This one officer, one of these guys, protecting and serving the community, allegedly, let's hear how he talks about a young woman that lost her life in the community that he was here to protect and serve. Like I told you, a certain demographic, their sense of humor is very strange. Remember we talked about that in previous episodes of the culture, how a certain demographic, their sense of humor is very unorthodox, is very out of the ordinary, You know, men like us, especially black men, you know, we don't even joke how they be joking. You know, they're very, you know, homoerotic. They have a strange disdain for women. You know, I don't understand these guys. But anyway, run the clip. I'll be right back.
You guys remember the Seattle cop that was seen laughing after his colleague fatally struck a grad student while he was speeding in his patrol car? If not, let me refresh your memory.
I don't think she was thrown 40 feet either. I think she went up on the hood, hit the windshield, then when he hit the brakes, flew off the car. But she is dead. No, it's a regular person. Yeah, just write a check. Just yeah, $11,000. She was 26 anyway. She had limited value.
The officer who made those comments was Daniel Otterer, and he was responding to the scene where Janavi Kandula was hit and pronounced deceased just moments ago, and he was seen laughing about it and saying she had limited value, and he wasn't speaking to just anyone, he was speaking to the union president, Mike Solon. And let me remind you, the officer that hit her, Kevin Dave, was going 74 in a 25, almost 50 miles per hour over, but all criminal charges against him were dropped because they said they couldn't prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he was consciously disregarding safety. So instead, he was hit with a minor traffic infraction and cited only $5,000, and he didn't even pay that fine and instead contested it. Earlier this year, Officer Kevin Dave was fired, but he is now appealing that decision because he doesn't think he was in the wrong. Daniel Otterer was also fired last year, but he is now suing the city for $20 million because he's also claiming wrongful termination. Neither of the officers apologized, owned up to what they did, or even face the consequences of their actions without trying to contest it.
Man, welcome to the culture in full effect, uncensored, live and uncut, as you can see. Now, speaking of the culture, I saw this post on social media randomly earlier today. It jogged my memory. This person said this Trump supporter drove through the doors of a Mormon church, set the building on fire, and then started shooting the people inside. Now, as you already know on this broadcast, we don't do the whole breaking up into sections, breaking up into sectors and factions. Oh, it's the Trump supporter. It's the radical left. No, it's just a white man, just a white man, just a white man. Same way if it was a black man. We don't break black men up into groups and factions. Oh, the black men from the East Coast who wear their jeans on Saturday. No, it's just a black man. So on this broadcast, we say it's just a white man, right? So a white man drove through the doors of a Mormon church, set the building on fire, and then started eliminating the people inside the building. I can't believe how that just came and went. And if you remember around that time, it was like several different episodes and incidents similar to this one. One guy in North Carolina, hit up a bar. This guy right here, man, it was a whole bunch of stuff going on around that same exact time, right? Now, let's refresh your memory because I can't believe they just got away with that. On the morning of September 28th, 2025, a mass shooting and arson attack occurred at a meeting house of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc Township, Michigan. The perpetrator, 40-year-old Thomas Sanford, rammed his pickup truck into the front wall of the chapel, then exited the vehicle and opened fire on the congregation with an assault rifle. At some point, Sanford set the building on fire, likely using gasoline as an accelerant, which destroyed most of it. 4 church members were killed and 8 injured. 2 were shot dead and 2 died in the fire. Sanford was killed by police after a shootout. 4 church members were killed. 2 were killed by gunfire. 1 was pronounced dead at the scene, and the other died at a nearby Henry Ford Genesis Hospital. 2 victims died in the fire. Both bodies were recovered after the fire was extinguished. The ages of the victims who had been killed or wounded range from 6 years old to 78 years old. Now, that was just a few months ago, man. Welcome to the culture. That just came and went like a blip on the radar. They still talk about Irina Zarutska, but we ain't even spent 2 seconds on this guy. But anyway, this is the main event, right? I want to talk about, before we get started, take a look at the calamity taking place in the community, right? Welcome to the culture. I want to get into this one guy right here speaking facts about his culture. It's not every day you get a white man speaking the truth, man. It's not every day. We so used to the lies and the propaganda that when you come across a white man speaking the truth, speaking the reality, it's like a foreign species, man. It's like seeing an extraterrestrial. It's like seeing an alien. You know what I mean? But anyway, let's get into this video. I don't gotta say nothing. The floor is yours, big man. Do your thing. Speak the truth. Preach the gospel.
So I showed this statistic in a debate where I said that 71% of all the child pornography sentences were for white people. And they said, well, what about production? Because that's not production. I want to know who produces it all. And I was like, yeah, sure. Anything for white supremacists or fragile white people who can't admit that we touch children as white guys. Can't admit that we touch children as white guys. Can't admit that we touch children as white guys. So I pulled this up on the United States Sentencing Commission, where it says, most child pornography production offenders were white. I don't know what to tell you. It doesn't matter about the other races. What I see here is white. It doesn't matter about the other races. What I see here is white. Can't admit that we touch children as white guys. It doesn't matter about the other races. What I see here is white. 75% of the people who produce, the production managers of child pornography, is white men. Boo. Ooh, gross. 75% of the people who produce, the production managers of child pornography, the production managers, 75%. It doesn't matter about the other races. What I see here is white. Can't admit that we touch children as white guys. The production managers of child pornography is white men. It doesn't matter about the other races. What I see here is white. The production managers. It doesn't matter about the other races. What I see here is white.
Man, like I say, man. And to be honest, I just think he's sincere. I just think that he truly actually wants better for his community. I think that's really why he did that. Because the reality is every community has their issues, right? For example, when it comes to crime in the black community, you notice that it's mainly motivated by the surroundings and the environment. You notice that poverty and crime tend to go hand in hand. And as you witness people go up the economic ladder, you notice that the crime levels also decrease. There's a correlation between that, right? So every community has their issues. I think that, you know, in his community, he also noticed that he has certain issues. They have certain issues. So he's simply just bringing it to light, having honest conversations the same way that we have honest conversations about what's taking place inside of our communities and how we can do better and change things for the future. I think that's the spirit of where he's coming from, to be honest, right? Because you can't fix a problem if you deflect all the time. If you're always pointing fingers, trying to demonize somebody else, always trying to magnify somebody else, what's going on in somebody else's community, always talking about crime in the black community, but you never talk about the crime taking place inside your own community, right? So I think that's why this broadcast is it's a breath of fresh air, because we get to shine a light on some of the things that fly under the radar, because everybody's so focused on what's happening in the black community that we never, look in the mirror to see what's happening in our own respective communities. So anyway, let's get into today's episode, man. Let's get into the intro and let's go.
If you didn't know already, white men make up 29% of the U.S. population, but are accounted for over 77% of the people caught with child, you know what.
What's that? Get the away from me now, I'm gonna knock your off, son. Why is he doing this? I just want to leave. I've got my property, I just want to leave. I didn't touch him. Palms together. Why are you guys doing this? I didn't touch him.
All right, we back. Now, before we get into the news stories, I want to provide some updates on previous cases that we discussed in previous episodes. So if you remember, we discussed the missing case of the teenager, LaQuanda Robinson from North Carolina. We discovered that she was actually, rescued in a whole different state with some strange individual. And of course, he was arrested. But now it seems that she has went missing again, and she has been missing for quite a while. So I'm going to go ahead and give her the shine, the spotlight on the episode. So hopefully she can be reunited once again with her family. So run the clip. I'll be right back.
Last year, we brought you the case of 15-year-old LaQuanda Robinson, who disappeared from her home in Kannapolis, North Carolina on February 22nd of 2024. Now, thanks to one of your tips, U.S. Marshals learned that LaQuanda was in suburban Chicago and was believed to have been lured to the home of 43-year-old Andrew Zeck of Green Oaks, Illinois, who she'd met online. Detectives with the Lake County Sheriff's Office set up surveillance at the home, where they observed Zeck leaving the house with LaQuanda. Detectives rescued LaQuanda, and Zeck was placed under arrest. Zeck is currently in jail, facing 4 counts of involuntary sexual servitude of a minor and 4 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse. As for LaQuanda, after a tearful reunion with her mom at a Chicago airport, 2 of them flew back home to North Carolina. LaQuanda, an honors student, returned to her studies, was accepted at college at North Carolina Central, and was on track to graduate from high school this spring, when LaQuanda vanished again.
Yes, LaQuanda was doing so well. Her mom was so excited to have her back home. She was really thriving in school, preparing for her graduation and going off to college. Although she still struggled because of the trauma that she experienced when she went missing.
What can you tell us about her disappearance?
LaQuanda's mom shared video of the night that she disappeared. In the middle of the night, she heard a noise. She looked out of her window and she saw an 18-wheeler and LaQuanda running out of the house to get into that vehicle. When she left her home, she took a few of her items with her, but those items were later found on the roadway after she vanished. She's concerned that her daughter is being preyed upon and is extremely vulnerable.
All right, we back. Now, we got a second update on a case that we discussed previously on The Culture, the case of Stacey Charles and Stephen Heinrich, right? That one guy who had like 6 different restraining orders from 6 different women across the country, but somehow he was never, put in prison, never put under the jail, every single time, let him back out on bail, right? So let's get into that update, play the clip. I'll be right back. Then we're going to jump into the article.
Officers say around 2 o'clock that Friday morning, Stacey Charles was sitting in this parking lot in her car. They say Stephen Heinrich Jr. then pulled in, pulled her out of her car, and started stabbing her here on the ground. They say he then left her here in the parking lot and then pulled out onto Old Hammond Highway. Officers say Heinrich didn't get far before purposely swerving into oncoming traffic and setting himself on fire.
Now, let's jump into the article. As you can see, AirTag stalking and hidden kitchen knives. New details released in the Baton Rouge murder-suicide. Stephen Heinrich arrived at Stacey Charles' apartment building around 2 in the morning. She was seated in her vehicle in the parking lot when Heinrich began ramming his vehicle into her vehicle. Her roommate, Stacey Charles' roommate, Crystal Weber, heard the noise from the bedroom. Weber said that she thought a car had run off the road and went out to see what was going on. She saw Heinrich back into Charles' car, but did not yet realize that Stacey Charles was actually in her vehicle and went to put on her shoes. Stephen Heinrich then exited his vehicle and walked to the driver's side door of Stacey Charles' vehicle where she was sitting. When I walked back outside, he's trying to pull her out the car, Weber said. It looks like he was hitting her, like he was punching her. Weber said that once Stacey Charles heard her nearby, she began to call for help. That's when he turned around and started to come towards me with the knife. Weber ran back inside and called 911. Weber said that Stacey Charles' death was the final escalation of months of stalking and harassment from Stephen Heinrich. When Weber moved in 2 months ago, Stacey Charles had just returned from a trip to New York to see Stephen Heinrich. She brought back a busted lip and a twisted ankle. Opening up to her new roommate, Stacey Charles told Crystal Weber that Stephen Heinrich had caused the injuries and that she had called the police while she was in New York. She said that she had made the comment that she just wanted to die if he doesn't go to jail. Weber said that Stacey Charles tried to break things off with Stephen Heinrich after that trip, but he would not accept it and allegedly started harassing her with hundreds of anonymous texts and calls. Stephen Heinrich would also allegedly text Stacey Charles' family and coworkers with violent and hateful and sexually explicit messages regarding Stacey Charles. Weber said that Stephen Heinrich would follow Stacey Charles, adding that Stacey began to miss school and work to avoid him. After Stacey Charles' death, Crystal Weber said that she found 2 AirTag GPS trackers hidden inside her car. She was losing her mind because of what he was doing. Crystal Weber first saw Stephen Heinrich in person on the night of November 5th when he was arrested for allegedly battering Stacey Charles. Coming home, Crystal Weber said that she saw Stephen Heinrich in handcuffs and Stacey Charles sitting in the back of an ambulance with a cut on her hand. Stacey was taken to the hospital and also given a summons for battery of a dating partner while Heinrich was taken to jail. After the two had left, Crystal Weber said that she found a kitchen knife stashed in Stephen Heinrich's luggage. Heinrich also had 6 out-of-state protective orders from various women. Now, that's crazy, man. Like I said, man, only one demographic could just go around just, women across the country got restraining orders against you, but for some reason they never want to throw you in jail. I don't understand, man. Welcome to the culture, man. Welcome to the culture. It's crazy what's happening in these streets, man. But anyway, let's continue. Next story. A man has been arrested in a Texas woman's disappearance and death. Now, this case, this guy, he's just been arrested, but this case involves a woman that has been missing since, I think, 2022, and her body has still not been found. But now we have a suspect who has just recently been indicted. Let's get into it. Let's take a look at the details of the disappearance. Thompson, the victim, Darnisa Thompson, was last seen in the 400 block of Sandplant Road in Dublin, Louisiana on March 14, 2022. She has never been heard from again. She lived in Texas at the time of her disappearance and was visiting somebody in Webster Parish. She left behind 2 young children who are now being raised by their grandmother. Now, to me, it's extremely strange, right? It's extremely strange because when it says her last location, her last known location was 400 Sandplant Road in Dublin, Louisiana. And then when you actually go to 400 Sandplant Road and you search it up, take a look up on the screen, right? This is what you see. So when I look around, I see the area is extremely rural. I don't see any houses or structures or stores or anything really. I just see road and bush and forest and, this out in the country, right? So, and when you go all the way down the block, this is the whole block. It's just one big road. So when they say she was last seen in this area, that's probably where her phone last pinged to a cell phone tower, right? Just in this area with no houses, no nothing, just bush, just brush and forest, right? Just long stretches of road with no activity, no cameras, and just nobody around. So that really stuck out to me as strange, right? But anyway, let's jump into the story. In March 2022, 30-year-old Darnisa Nicole Thompson left her home in Texas and traveled across state lines to Webster Parish, Louisiana. For her friends and family, the trip alone was unusual. Darnisa was a mother of 2. According to investigators, she was last seen in the region of Sandplant Road, a narrow roadway surrounded by dense trees and thick brush and very few visible homes. The kind of place where you can drive for minutes without seeing another person, another car, or even a mailbox. According to investigators, there are no sidewalks, no businesses, and no visible homes from the main road. It is isolated and heavily wooded and extremely quiet. After that day, Darnisa simply vanished. Her phone went silent. Her social media activity stopped. She never returned to Texas. She never contacted her children or her family ever again. Law enforcement has focused on the final person known to have been with her during that day, suspect Alton Cravens, a local man known in the area. Over time, investigators charged him with kidnapping and obstruction of justice, believing that he played a role in her disappearance. In 2025, a grand jury indicted him for second-degree murder, even though her body has never been found. It has now been more than 3.5 years since Darnisa disappeared, and there has never been a single confirmed sighting, no confirmed evidence of her movements, and no trace of her whereabouts. The location of her body and the exact circumstances surrounding her disappearance still remain unknown. Darnisa vanished in an area where you could take a short walk off the road deep into the woods, the kind of environment where a person, a phone, or even a vehicle could disappear without ever being seen. Today, the case stands as one of the most unsettling unresolved disappearances in modern Louisiana history. A young mother left her home in Texas, traveled into a rural area of another state, and vanished on a quiet back road that strangers rarely ever drive down. And despite an arrest and a murder indictment, the question still remains, where is Darnisa? Now, I don't know what is up with this demographic. They refuse to let you know where they hide the body, where they hide the body parts. I don't know what's the big secret. I don't know what they got going on the dark web or whatever they doing. But anyway, I want to take a look at some of the reactions on social media. This person said this is my cousin, the sweetest girl ever. And she was not his first victim. She is one of many, but hopefully she was his last. This person said, the whole time he plots and preys on black women. He married an African woman, and where is she? He has murdered plenty of women. Please get him, and justice for those women as well. Shaking my head. Now let's continue. Next story. The prosecutor says that a mother sat on her daughter long enough for her to stop breathing. Let's get into this one. A woman is now facing a manslaughter charge after prosecutors say that her adopted daughter, 11-year-old Malaya Leak, died during a violent incident inside the home. Investigators say that the suspect, Sherry Leak, admitted to sitting on top of the child long enough that she stopped breathing, leading to her death. Sherry Leak appeared in court on Tuesday where prosecutors outlined the early evidence against her. According to the county chief trial attorney Matt Roberts, Leak herself acknowledged that she sat on the child, and investigators believe that act directly caused the death of the 11-year-old girl. Emergency crews were unable to revive the child after Sherry Leak called 911, reporting that the child was unconscious and not breathing. Dispatch audio released afterward shows Sherry Leak telling operators that a physical altercation had occurred and that Malaya had been knocked over. But first responders were also informed that Sherry Leak appeared to be the assaulting party. The autopsy is still pending, and detectives say this remains an active investigation. Because of the severity of the case, Child Protective Services immediately moved to terminate parental rights involving Malaya's twin sister, who is described as medically fragile and currently hospitalized. CPS is now searching for a safe placement once she is released. Sherry Leak, who adopted both girls, has been charged with manslaughter, a felony that carries up to 15 years in prison. Prosecutors say the evidence so far points to a grossly negligent act, but they are not ruling out additional charges, including potential child abuse once the medical examiner completes a report. Malaya was a 5th grade student at Shedler Elementary School in the Fruitport Community Schools District. Crazy, man, crazy. Welcome to the culture, bro. Welcome to the culture. Let's continue. Next story. November 21st, last week, a former police captain charged for crimes against minors. Let's get into it. A former member of law enforcement is facing a sweeping federal indictment after investigators uncovered what prosecutors describe as an extended pattern of criminal activity involving a young victim. Suspect, 59-year-old Darren Edwards, has been arrested and is now facing multiple federal charges, including coercion and enticement of a minor, production of illegal images and videos involving minors, and possession of illegal images and videos involving minors, right? The production managers, right? The production managers. Never forget that. He is appearing before a U.S. magistrate judge following his arrest. A federal grand jury returned a 5-count indictment, and if convicted on all charges, he could face up to life in prison. According to court documents, the case centers around a young victim identified as Jane Doe, who confessed to the investigators that the criminal activity began when she was in the 6th grade, only 12 years old, and continued for several years. In her statement, she alleged that the suspect, Mr. Edwards, engaged in criminal acts against her about 85 to 100 times just in the past year alone. Prosecutors say that the number illustrates just how long the criminal activity has continued and how often the victim was targeted. Investigators also say that the suspect, Darren Edwards, contacted another minor victim, identified also as Jane Doe, through Snapchat and Instagram, sending illegal messages and requesting illegal photos. The court filings allege that Darren Edwards bribed the victim with money and attempted to manipulate both of the minors on social media. The documents also say that one of the victims found hidden cameras inside her bedroom and elsewhere inside her house, devices that the suspect allegedly admitted to installing. The suspect, a 32-year veteran of the Houston Police Department, has been relieved of his duties pending an internal investigation. He was originally charged with possession of illegal images and videos involving minors, but after new evidence surfaced, state prosecutors added even more charges, including, I can't even say it, and also possession of illegal images and videos involving minors and illegal activity involving a child. The federal and local investigators say the case is ongoing and additional charges may follow. Now, next story. Now, this story is crazy, right? A Philly journalist killer gets 15 to 30 years in prison, right? Now, this is the suspect who got the 30 years in prison, right? And this is the victim in the case. And this is really a sad case, right? I really feel bad for this young brother right here who got the 30 years. It's crazy. Anyway, let's jump into this story. The sentencing in the killing of Philadelphia journalist Josh Kruger has brought closure to one of the city's most disturbing and complicated cases. The shooter, Robert Davis, is now facing the consequences for taking Kruger's life, but the story is far from a simple narrative. Throughout the investigation, the suspect's family has painted a picture of a teenager who had been groomed, exploited, and drawn into a world of drug addiction and manipulation years before the crime ever happened. According to the suspect's mother and his older brother, the victim, Josh Kruger, initiated contact with Robert, the suspect, when he was still a minor, pulling him into a sexual relationship involving drugs and power imbalance, as the family says spiraled into years of trauma. They claim that the victim, Josh Kruger, threatened him and held explicit material over his head and used his authority and influence to maintain control over the young boy. These allegations were never resolved in court since Kruger died before any legal process could take place. By the time of the sentencing, Davis was no longer seen as a defendant. He was also seen as a troubled young man who had been failed by every system meant to protect him. The courtroom atmosphere reflected the complexity. A teenager who grew up battling addiction and was victimized by the person that he murdered. Now time out. So the suspect in this case, right, this young brother right here who got 30 years, the person that he actually eliminated was actually somebody that took advantage of him as a child, someone that got him addicted to drugs as a child in order to take advantage of a child that was not in his right mind, right? So this guy got this young boy on drugs, right? And then obviously, you know, I guess when he got older, the young boy came back for retaliation. And of course, he was presenting himself as some type of, you know, honorable guy in the community. I'm here to help out the impoverished youth. I'm here to help out the troubled youth. You know, I'm just a good old friendly white man in the community. I'm just here to give back, engage in charity and philanthropy. But of course, this is what he was doing under the cover of darkness. And I really feel bad for the young brother because not only obviously getting victimized as a child by some European man, but then when you take justice into your own hands, you get smacked with 30 years. So not only did he have his childhood innocence taken from him, but now he has his adulthood, his whole life taken from him. So basically, you know, his whole life, he just been a victim. You know, his whole life just been wasted, just in suffering and pain, you know, to be honest. You know, but anyway, next story, man. November 19th, last week, a man gets 965 years in prison for crimes against minors. Let's get into it. Jesus, man, what did you do to the children, bro? 900 years? Man, welcome to the culture, bro. An Alabama man has received one of the harshest sentences in history after investigators uncovered years of horrific crimes against a child. 48-year-old Jason Hudson was sentenced to 965 years in prison after being convicted on 84 counts of criminal activity against minors, as well as 75 counts of possession of illegal images and videos involving minors, as well as the production of illegal images and videos involving minors, as well as incest. All sentences were ordered to run consecutively, meaning Hudson will serve one full sentence before the next one even begins. According to prosecutors, the suspect, Jason Hudson, not only committed criminal acts against a child under the age of 12, but he recorded and stored the videos of his crimes, creating homemade videos involving the victim. During the investigation, authorities also discovered a massive collection of illegal images and videos involving other children, some that were younger than 2 years old, enduring terrible mistreatment. Even seasoned investigators said it was one of the worst cases they have ever encountered in their careers. The case began when the suspect downloaded illegal images and videos online, triggering an alert to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, who contacted the authorities, who executed a search warrant and recovered thousands of illegal files on his electronic devices, including his own recordings that he produced. The district attorney said the evidence took an emotional toll on every investigator involved in the case. The victim in the case bravely delivered an impact statement in court, calling him a monster and saying that he was not worthy of respect. They explained that they had survived the trauma, rebuilt their life, and no longer carried the weight of the suspect's actions. The judge praised the victim's strength and made it clear that Hudson will never walk free again. The suspect's wife also admitted involvement and was sentenced to 30 years in prison. The prosecutors emphasized that the sentence reflects both the scale and the cruelty of the crimes. Now, man, that is just absolutely insane. You know, I can't even go into the details of what they discovered during the investigation, but I'll just say this: for the victim to actually have the strength to come in court and make a impact statement and say that they have moved past what they have went through, especially when they describe what they went through, especially at the age they describe what they went through, man, that is absolutely insane. But honestly, they were so young during when some of this happened that they're probably not even going to remember all of it in detail, you know, when they get older, because, you know, you don't remember what happened when you were 2 years old, 3 years old, right? Not in great detail anyway, you know, but man, the reason why he got 965 years, it's a reason why he got 965 years. I can't even go into great detail of what he was doing, bro. That's how crazy it was. But you could tell by the sentence, it was not no games, man. Welcome to the culture, bro. Welcome to the culture. Happens every single day in their community, but they want to talk about other communities. Totally insane, right? Next story. November 25th, the other day, a couple has been arrested and charged for crimes against minors. Let's get into it. Authorities in Columbus County have arrested 2 people in a case involving minors that deputies say spans several years. The suspect, 29-year-old Parker Spalding, and 39-year-old Mary Barnhill were both taken into custody on November 24th after authorities executed a search warrant at a home in the area. According to the arrest warrant, the suspect, Mr. Spalding, is accused of repeatedly committing criminal acts against the same child across multiple years, with incidents listed in March 2022, October 2022, March 2023, March 2024, March 2025. Investigators say the victim was 12 years old when the criminal acts began. The female suspect, Miss Barnhill, warrants allege that she knew the abuse was happening and failed to protect the child. The deputies say both suspects were arrested after a joint operation involving the sheriff's office and the narcotics division. Next story, November 28th, the other day, a man has been jailed for the elimination of a family friend in an act of unimaginable depravity. Let's get into it. A case has shocked both the investigators and the court system. 21-year-old Ernestas Juska has been sentenced to life in prison for the brutal elimination of 39-year-old Nina Denisova, a close family friend who was staying overnight at his mother's home. According to the prosecutors, the incident occurred after the suspect, Ernest Juska, spent the evening socializing with his mother and her friends, including the victim. He had consumed alcohol and cocaine and later became upset when his mother criticized him for not having a job. After the victim went to sleep in a spare bedroom as a guest, the suspect told police that he decided that he wanted to kill somebody. He later admitted that he intentionally chose the victim because he didn't want to harm his mother or his sister or anybody in his family. Between 5 and 6 a.m., he retrieved the biggest knife he could find from the kitchen, went upstairs, and attacked the victim while she was sleeping. The court heard that she woke up and tried to fight back, but the assault continued. The judge said her final moments were filled with extreme, unexpected, and undeserved fear. After the killing, the suspect left the house, walked to a bus stop, and calmly asked a stranger to call police because he had just killed somebody. He was arrested shortly afterward and then confessed. During the sentencing, the court revealed that forensic psychiatrists found that the suspect's consumption of violent online material had a significant impact on his behavior. The judge noted that the type of content that he consumed was directly relevant to his motive and the mindset during that night. According to court documents, after the suspect eliminated the victim, he began having intimate relations with the dead body. Originally, he had stabbed her in the neck, but she did not die, and she began to struggle. He put his hands over her mouth and then stabbed her through both of her eyes. He then stabbed her in the belly and in the chest, and told police that he didn't feel anything during the attack. Man, these guys are different. These guys are different, man. These guys are different. Anyway, let's continue. Next story. A couple has been charged with crimes against minors November 28th, the other day. A Kentucky couple has been hit with a long list of state and federal charges. According to the authorities, suspects Christopher Etheridge and Amy Etheridge were both arrested after the state police electronic crimes branch identified both suspects sharing illegal images on the internet. The discovery set off a full internet crimes against children investigation, which eventually led detectives to execute a search warrant at the couple's residence. Multiple devices believed to be used in the offenses were seized and sent to forensic labs for analysis. The investigation is still ongoing, and more charges are soon to follow. A federal grand jury has already indicted both suspects on 3 counts of employing and using a minor to produce illegal images and videos involving minors. The production managers, like the brother said in the beginning, like the white boy said in the beginning, we are the production managers, right? He said, my demographic, white men, we are the production managers. Man, he a real one for that one. The realest white boy in the game. Shout out to you, brother. Anyway, investigators say that the female suspect, Amy, was not just aware of what was happening, but she actively participated in the crimes. The charges include using a minor under 16 in prohibited performance, promoting a minor in a prohibited performance, the distribution of illegal material involving somebody under the age of 12, and procuring and promoting the use of a minor through electronic means, and 20 counts of possession of illegal material involving minors under the age of 12. Next story, November 29th, the other day, a man stabbed a woman to death after she let him into her apartment for cigarettes. Let's get into it. Pennsylvania prosecutors say a 54-year-old man with a long history of violence against women is now accused of murdering a woman inside her own apartment after she refused his sexual advances. The suspect, Glenn Whittier, has been charged with criminal homicide and tampering with evidence in the death of 59-year-old Pamela Puskar. According to investigators, the suspect, Glenn Whittier, was spending Friday night at a friend's apartment inside the apartment complex. At some point, the victim, Pamela, briefly entered the unit looking for somebody that she knew. The suspect asked her for a cigarette, and when she left to return to her own apartment, police say that he followed her and suggested that they have sex. The victim firmly rejected. The court documents show that shortly after midnight, the suspect's friend called him, and during that call, Pamela could be heard in the background saying, "You're not touching me." That was the last confirmed communication from her. By Saturday morning, friends were unable to reach her, and by Sunday around 8 in the morning, somebody entered the apartment and found Pamela dead in the kitchen. An autopsy confirmed that she died from multiple stab wounds. Surveillance video caught the suspect leaving the apartment complex early Saturday morning around 7 a.m., carrying a ginger ale box and covering his face tightly with his hood. He was arrested days later. Authorities also emphasized the suspect's violent criminal history, noting that he previously served prison time for attacking women. In one case back in 2015, he was accused of holding a woman captive for several days and beating her with a hammer and pouring bleach into her eyes. He ultimately pled guilty to aggravated assault and received 2 to 5 years in prison. Now, I want to jump into that case. I want to jump into his old case from back in 2015, right? When he held the woman captive for several days and was beating her with a hammer. Let's jump into that case like 10 years ago, right? Same suspect, different victim. Let's go. Before his recent homicide arrest, the suspect, Glenn Whittier, had already been accused of extreme violence in a separate case that shocked the community. According to the police, the suspect allegedly held his girlfriend captive back in 2015 inside an apartment and assaulted her repeatedly over the course of several days. The attacks started on March 11th and continued until March 14th, when the victim finally escaped and contacted the police. Investigators say that she told officers that the suspect had beat her with a hammer, pulled out portions of her hair, and even poured bleach onto her injuries, including into her eyes, all while preventing her from leaving the apartment. Family members described her condition as catastrophic, saying that she arrived at the hospital bruised and unable to walk or even talk, and suffering from bleeding inside the brain, broken ribs, and severe swelling to her face. The neighbors had told the local media that violence at the apartment was not new, with some saying that they had called police numerous times because of constant disturbances and concerns for safety. One neighbor described the suspect as someone who gave the vibe that he was nothing but trouble. Now, if you take a look up on the screen, this is actually his recent victim that he unfortunately eliminated the other day, last week, right? November 23rd, 2025. So that's the lady that he had an altercation with. He attacked her last week. And I was just doing some information and some research, and I actually saw that she was actually arrested for a crazy, case of her own back like in 2024, right? Let's jump into that one. Welcome to the culture, bro. Look at this headline. The school lunch lady is on house arrest after a loaded gun was found in her car at school, right? So she got arrested last year for bringing a gun to school. She the lunch lady, right? Unfortunately, she was the one that lost her life with that crazy guy last week. But let's jump into this case. A school employee in New Jersey is on house arrest after authorities say that she brought a loaded gun onto school property following a violent domestic dispute. 57-year-old Pamela Puskar, who worked as a lunch aide at elementary school, reportedly pointed the firearm at her boyfriend during what investigators describe as a drunken argument from the night before. According to prosecutors, Pamela had threatened to eliminate her boyfriend and the pets and even herself during a confrontation the night before, and by the next morning, she placed the gun in the trunk of her car before heading to work, telling the investigators that she did so because she was worried that her boyfriend might access the weapon after the argument. When her boyfriend realized his gun was missing, he contacted the police, who then went to the school. Pamela allowed the officers to search her vehicle, and they found the loaded firearm under the floor mat with 2 live rounds. Now, that occurred back in January 2024. Now, of course, in the modern day now, she unfortunately passed away. But as I was doing my research, I just came across that, welcome to the culture, man. Look what's happening in the white community, in the everyday white community. Just craziness happening every single day, man. Every single day that you would not imagine, random pedestrians getting attacked, random civilians getting attacked. That one guy who, his mother's friend, could you imagine attacking your mother's friend? That's crazy. And didn't that lady at the beginning, that was running her mouth, about the black community, that red pill turned conservative grifter. They said, oh, we respect authority in the white community. Oh, please. Do you see how these young white men talk to their mothers, disrespect their mothers, curse out their mothers, right? This guy right here, he stabbed his mother's friend just because he was bored for no reason, talking about y'all respect authority. Please, man, please. If there's anybody that respects authority, it's in the black community. We respect authority. We respect our elders, right? We respect our elders in the black community. Y'all don't respect y'all elders in the white community. Talk crazy to your elders. Raise your voice at your elders. Raise your hand to your elders, man. Just all type of disrespect to the elders in the white community. That red pill conservative grifter talking about we respect authority. Please. Oh, please. But yeah, man. Anyway, rest in peace to this victim. Rest in peace to her. That was crazy. That was crazy. Apparently, she didn't even know the guy. It was just a random guy. He just made advances towards her and then he just eliminated her on the spot. Right. And on top of that, he already was arrested for that crazy crime back in 2015. Right. Where he was holding the woman captive and beating her with the hammer. And then he only got like 2 years or something like that. Got like, super light sentence, super light sentence right back onto the streets, and still just committing acts of terror in the community. Totally crazy stuff. But anyways, another successful episode of the illustrious broadcast called The Culture. It's your boy Neferkari. That's Celine back in the building. Yes, indeed. Second single off the next project, The Spy and Bamako. Pin comment at the top. Link in the description. Support the Patreon, NTD 1814. And I'm gone. Peace. Feel like you see me, I feel like I'm Saudi or ran up on Yan in the middle of Bamako. Enemy line, they claiming he innocent. Don't do no talking, I gotta move militant. Don't do no talking, I hit him with facts. 1804, bringing it back. 1804 like I'm Mother Cap Henry. King with the vision, the crown never empty. Top of the mountain, my soldiers defend me. Ducking and dodging the foreign intelligence. Hitting my dance on the DGSE. Dodging they traps, still on my feet. Feeling impeccable, feel like I'm shining. Go to my neck and I'm flooded with diamonds. Go to my neck and I feel like a mess. Feel like a lion, I'm in the savannah. Feel like the king when I'm up in the jungle. Never defeated, I never been humble. Come out victorious every encounter. Money machine give me help when I count it. Money machine stack it up in a beat. Heart of a king and I ride for the team. Weight of the world got it stuck on my shoulders. Bet you can feel it, my heart getting colder. Yeah, gotta stay focused so when it sends shots I gotta react. Cause I'm a target, I'm under attack. Grabbing a weapon, I tell him get back. Mission exposed, secrets unfold. Enemy try but I'm still in control. Got your boy sitting in Bamako prison. Hoping they wish we sending them home. Enemy know that we good under pressure. Been through the thunderous turbulent storm. Shorty a diamond, I told her she pressure. Hop in a whip and I'm taking her home. Hop in a whip and I'm swerving, I'm smashed. Killing my enemies, one of my passion. Rocking this gold like we in bikini. Feel like the captain, I'm clutching a heater. Yeah, gotta stay focused so when it sends shots I gotta react. Cause I'm a target, I'm under attack. Grabbing a weapon, I tell her get back. Mission exposed, secrets unfold. Enemy try but I'm still in control. Got your boy sitting in Bamako prison. Hoping they wish we sending them home. Enemy know that we good under pressure. Been through the thunderous turbulent storm. Shorty a diamond, I told her she pressure. Hop in a whip and I'm taking her home. Hop in a whip and I'm swerving, I'm smashed. Killing my enemies, one of my passion. Rocking this gold like we in bikini. Feel like the captain, I'm clutching a heater.